Mohammed, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me again, Moaeez.
My pleasure, buddy. So today's question is, and it's a very common question. It's
Mhm.
easy for us because we're in the business, but for the average consumer that may not know this, what does a real estate lawyer do in a real estate transaction? And why do we have real estate lawyers in a real estate transaction?
That's actually a fantastic question, and you're right to point that out. People don't buy and sell every day. You're doing it maybe once every couple of years, maybe once every decade or 2 decades, right? And so it is important to understand what is it that the real estate lawyer does for you. Now, first of all, you should be aware that you cannot transfer title or ownership without a real estate lawyer. And that's the number one thing. So for you to actually make sure that the property is placed under your name, you need to hire a real estate lawyer, right? Now, one of the important things that a real estate lawyer does on the buy side is to make sure that you have clean title. And what that means is essentially that you're going to get that property, and you're not going to have issues after the fact with somebody coming back and saying, oh, well, you know what, you actually owe me for this, or that vendor owes me for that, or this wasn't resolved and now you have to deal with it because you've assumed that liability from the person who sold it to you. The other thing is that most people buy with a mortgage, and so the bank won't let you get the money directly. They want it to go into a lawyer's trust account, and they want the lawyer to protect the bank's interest as well. And so that's another reason you need a real estate lawyer, to make sure that you can actually access the bank's money and use it towards your final closing.
I'm going to pile a little bit on top of that. What is a statement of adjustment?
A statement of adjustments is essentially when you agree to buy the property, let's say very simply for $100,000. Okay. So you bought it for $100,000 and you paid the listing brokerage, which is the seller's brokerage, right? A $10,000 deposit. So, based on your thoughts at the time of closing, you owe them $90,000, right? But the thing is that the seller has made payments towards the property taxes. Let's use another very simple number. We'll say $3,650 because there's 365 days in a year. And so each day is worth $10. Now, if they've paid all the way to the end of the year, and you are buying it on the 31st of January, you will essentially owe them for 365 days times 10 minus the $310 of the 31 days, right? And so that's what the statement of adjustments is to take into account benefits that the buyer's receiving, that the seller's already paid for, and that the seller is owed back, or benefits that the seller hasn't paid for, and now they're going to rebate to the buyer. So for example, if it's a rental property, and that you've already received your first month rent, and now the buyer's not going to get it, so the seller has to pay that back.
When on average does a home buyer get a chance to review the statement of adjustment in the real estate transaction course?
So ideally, and it's not a fixed answer with all parties, but I can tell you what our firm does. So our firm will provide you the statement of adjustments as soon as we receive it, or as soon as we've finalized the numbers after we receive your numbers from the bank. So what I mean by that is once your bank instructions come in, we know, okay, this is how much coming from the bank. And then if the vendor's lawyer hasn't provided us the statement of adjustments, because keep in mind, that's something that they have to provide, our office will do a guesstimate. We'll say, okay, well, we know this is how much the taxes are for the year. Let's assume it's half a year. They should have paid half the year's amount. So this is roughly what our buyer will have to pay the seller. And so we'll give them a quote based on that, just so they can prepare in advance, because nobody wants to find out the day before closing, this is how much you have to bring.
And that made me chuckle because that happens quite a bit. Oftentimes, consumers want to choose a real estate lawyer of their choice, whether it's a friend or relative, and something like this might happen. It's like, you guys don't deserve this. I wish I could have prevented it. And it could have been. You just need the right professionals right now. Mohammed, if somebody wants to use your services or they have questions regarding your services, what is the best way to contact you?
Best way to contact us is via really all social media platforms, but I would specifically say reach out to us via our website, www.rehman.com, or, reach out to us via direct phone call. My staff will take a message, and if they can't answer your question, they'll, book a time for me to call you back so that we can address that together. But yeah, really just reach out via email or phone call. That's the best way.
Yeah, you're very easy to get a hold of in the sense where you respond very quickly. That helps tremendously, especially in a real estate transaction, because when something goes wrong, it goes wrong last minute, and our clients need us right away to help kind of solidify the situation, right? So Mohammed, thank you so much. We'll see you in the next video.
Absolutely. See you.